Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Pokemon trainers, and Poke fans everywhere. Today, we're going to be doing the first video for our Deep Deck Dive series. We're going to be taking a look at Shintaro Ito's second place runner-up Blacephalon-GX deck. We're going to start with this, and then we're going to do the first place Henry Brand's Mewtwo deck, and then we'll take a look at the others. That's just the order I've decided to do them in. Because I really like this deck and I really like the Mewtwo deck, so we're going to start with those two. Runner first, then the winner. And hopefully we'll get to make some good points about this deck and see how it works. Myself, I've only navigated this deck in 2 games. I won one and I lost one. The one I lost, the exact same thing happened to me that happened to Shintaro during his first game in the World Finals. 2 of my Naganadels were prized and I never got to see them during the entire match. I think we got down to the point where I had 2 prize cards left and my opponent only had 1. It was terrible. We couldn't, he had a Mewtwo deck, so we couldn't do enough damage to kill the Mewtwo. It was hard with 2 Naganadels being prized. That's how he lost his first game. You really need those. You really need at least 2 on your bench to keep the energy going. So that's the game I won was a pretty quick game, so that's why we're not showing that one off. I just had a really good setup like turn 2. My opponent forfeit, so we didn't really get to see a lot of that there either. But I gained a lot of experience from the one game that I lost. So let's see if we can navigate this deck, figure out what this is all about. And of course, the star of our show, the good old full art Blacephalon. I think this is a really nice full art too, because of the red color and the fire. Everything just syncs really well. And here's Blacephalon, who's just like, I don't know why I'm here. I'm an Ultra Beast, I don't belong in your dimension. That's kind of his expression. Or either that, or, I don't know, might just burn something today. Could be either. Okay, so this Pokemon, 180 HP, GX Pokemon, you lose 2 prize cards if he goes down. His one attack for 1 fire energy is Bursting Burn. You leave the opponent's Pokemon active and confused. But we're mainly here for the Mind Blown. For 2 fire energies, he does 50 times any amount of fire energies attached to your Pokemon that you put in the Lost Zone. So you can choose them attached to anywhere, any of your active Pokemon. That means you're benched or you're active, any of your Pokemon. You can choose any fire energies on them and discard them. And all we're going to be running in this deck is pretty much fire energies and then 1 special energy. But yeah, that's how you're going to be doing your damage. So if you discard 5 energies to the Lost Zone, that's 250 damage. If you discard 6, that's 300 damage. That's nutty. That's a lot of damage. And we can set this up really, really quickly with our Welder B-String combo. So, a little more about that later. But 3 of these guys, the Blacephalon-GX. And then we have Heatran. This guy is super useful. I think I undervalued him in my first good game with Blacephalon. That may have also been another reason why I couldn't play it out better. But for 2 fire energies and 1 standard, but you know the standard doesn't matter because all we're running in this deck is fire. So 3 fire energies, he does 130 damage. That's pretty good. That's gonna take out your opponent's Necrozmas, their Nagas, their Malamars. I think you should have one of him set up just for those situations. Really looking back at that game now. But yeah, 2 of these guys. And also the ability, Burning Road, Hot Burn GX, also really good. Not just a Steaming Stomp. I think that's just for like the situations I just described now, because you don't want to be discarding energies to the Lost Zone with Blacephalon for those Pokemon, because if you run Energy Dry, this deck stops working. That's something I've realized. It's a brilliant, brilliant deck. And you have to be really, really smart about your energy management and how many energies you're discarding for what, or else it's gonna fail on you real quick. Steaming Stomp is your like consistent damage. The only other Pokemon that I see doing consistent damage without having to discard is your Nagas. So that's something I would consider for the 130 here. But then also Burning Road, when you put this Pokemon from your bench to your active. You can move any number of fire energies that are attached to any of your Pokemon onto him. And that combos really well with his GX attack, Hot Burn. It does 50 times the amount of energy attached to this Pokemon. So it's pretty much the same thing. Like, you'll still be discarding... You'll be discarding cards to the Lost Zone with Blacephalon, but you won't discard with Hot Burn. So you could still go for potentially a Hot Burn GX with 6 energies for 300 damage. That should take out any tag team. And then you want to try to use your Blacephalon and then send those energies out to the Lost Zone to do another 300 damage with a non-GX attack. I think is our best bet with playing. So if you get your Heatran set up early, he has 190 HP. He's not going to usually get one shot in the first or second turn. So you should be good. You should be good, because even if he gets, thinking of big heavy hitters in the first turn, I could get set up early. Like 3 energies for the Umbreon Darkrai, 3 energies for Tag Purge, 2 energies for the Greninja Zoroark, but then you need extra energies to do damage with it. So there's only a few Pokemon, and I don't think any of them can one-shot you, so you're good. This Pokemon, I think, is what we want to get set up. Try to get out that Hot Burn for one of their tag teams, and then switch up to Blacephalon immediately, playing Mind Blown for discarding energies off of the Heatran to get that extra damage. I think that's how we want to combo with this deck. So those two guys are our primary attackers, and then we also have a gusting option in the form of Naganadel. Also, this is one of the good draw engines for this deck. So also in the game that I lost, I drew out because I used the Ultra Conversion ability, and then I used Hapu, and I used this twice or thrice even, and then I drew out my card through it because it was a long game. It was a very drawn out tactical game into that Mewtwo deck. But yeah, so Naganadel GX, this card, we have the ability Ultra Conversion, and once before your turn you can discard an Ultra Beast card from your hand, and if you do, you draw 3 cards. That's pretty much any of these cards here, or even Blacephalon if you want to. I don't know why you would want to discard him, but if you do, you can if you want to. And then that goes coupled really well with Ultra Space. So you play this, you can search for an Ultra Beast card, discard that Ultra Beast card, and then grab, you can grab 3 cards from your deck. Really good draw engine to give you options, especially to get that Welder in your hand, because boy, do you need Welder for this deck. So Welder, as I said multiple times, super broken card. You can attach 2 fire energies from your hand and draw 3 cards as well, so super. Put them on your Heatrans, put them on your Blacephalons, maybe even a Naganadel GX, because if you want to use Venom Shot, you still need to discard 2 energy for that. So again, energy management 101 in this deck. Like, be really careful. If you're Venom Shotting something, make sure it's a worthwhile attack. If they have a bench Mew, don't bother using it because it's not going to hurt anybody. Keep that in mind. Injection GX, we can't use that because we don't have a lightning energy in this, so not worried about it. So just Ultra Conversion and Venom Shot for those dire gusting situations where if you knock them out, you're knocking out a tag team that has damage on the bench. Before they scoop it up or something, he's there. You have the 1 psychic energy for him, so you can use that. So here's a downfall, as I've already mentioned. Having 2 of your basic Naganadels in your, I mean not the GXs, the Naganadels in your prize cards, having multiple of those in your prize cards can really turn this deck upside down. Oh my god, you can't get your energies. Like, you have to discard cards from your hand to make use of like Heat Factory, to make use of Mysterious Treasure, and the best cards to discard would be the fire cards, right? So you can attach them to your Nagas and then blow them off with your Mind Blown. That's the concept for this deck. But if those get prized and you just pick some unlucky prize picks, you're going to see a lot of trouble winning your games, especially if you can't set up your Heatran in those situations, because you're going to have to discard energy to the Lost Zone, and you're not going to have any way to bring back the energies in your discard pile apart from the energies you've already. So you're going to be running an energy crisis, and you're not going to have the damage to one-shot any of the tag teams. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be super duper difficult. You need at least 1. The best setup would be 2, and then having 1 of him on your bench for the Ultra Conversion, having a bench Mew in case you need him, and then manage around your bench slots either with the Blacephalon Heatran combo or just multiple Blacephalons. Getting ready depending on how many Welders you get, right? So I think the safest setup for this, from my experience and just thinking about this deck from an overall perspective, is to have 2 Nagas on the bench, be able to discard your fire energies, get them onto your Nagas for that energy acceleration for Blacephalon's Mind Blown, and then have 1 Naganadel on the bench for Ultra Conversion. Then you're still left with, out of 4, 2 Poipoles, 1 Naganadel-GX, a Blacephalon in case you need to, I don't know, but yeah, and then an extra Naganadel here. So that's still plenty of cards that you can Ultra Convert into a drawing hand if you're not already getting the cards you need with Welder. As I've explained, this is the critical card for this deck. Welder onto your Blacephalon, Welder onto your Heatran, certain situations Welder onto your Naga. Draw cards, make sure you have your options ready. Another core energy acceleration card for this deck is B-String. It's conditional acceleration, that's what I like to call it, because it only has, you can only play it if your opponent has exactly 3 or 4, I don't know why they say exact, 3 or 4 prize cards remaining, basically. So if he's knocked out one of your Blacephalons, that's like a perfect timing, or your Heatran, or your Naga, one of those Pokemon, or even your Dedenne in those weird situations. Basically, if they've knocked them out, that's a good time to be bringing this card out. Attached to basic energy. This is an item card, so you can use multiple of these on one turn. Yeah, so you can really abuse being your opponent being up 2 energy cards in the early game if you get these. So this is critical, but early, mid game, anytime you want energy attach, B-String is a great item for this deck. It just syncs so well with the Ultra Beasts and the theme of this deck. Cherish Ball for obviously drawing out our Blacephalons or Heatrans, whatever we need. Only 3 of those in this deck. I don't think he needs the 4th one with the inclusion of Ultra Space. He was probably confident. But really, shout out to Ito here. This is a brilliant deck. Just as all the others are too. But this one just seems to have... It's versatile, right? There's multiple ways to draw. There's multiple ways to reset your hand with the Dedennes and the Cynthias. And the Ultra Space works well. The Heat Factory works well. One thing I did notice, and we'll get back to it shortly here, but yeah, so Custom Catcher for your Gusting, Mysterious Treasure, so you can draw out your either your Naganadels basically or your Poipoles, even the bench Mew in a tough spot. You can do that with that. You got 4, and then you can discard your 5 energies to re-equip them onto your Nagas. That's how you want to be playing it, and it gets super difficult if you don't have your Nagas on the bench. So I keep saying that over and over again because that's how he lost too. That really hurts to prize something you like. Even if one of his GXs got prized and one of his Nagas got prized, he could have probably survived. But having 2 of these guys in there, oof, that's painful. Reset Stamp. So if you're mind-blowing things out of the active playing spot, then Reset Stamp your opponent, get him into a shorter hand, give him less options to deal with your already very versatile deck. Heat Factory, self-explanatory, discard a fire, draw 3, another good draw engine there. Ultra Space for grabbing those cards for either setting up your Nagas or even for the Ultra Conversion. For Cynthia's. 1 Hapu. This is questionable to me. This is really questionable because, and you know, this is my opinion personally, but this is a really dangerous card to have in here. I would have just gone double Lily for the draw power. Like, I understand the obsession with discarding cards in this deck and the reason you have to because of the Naganadel setup and everything, but it can be really dangerous. Like, if you draw and you get like 2 Nagas and a Blacephalon and you know, like a Welder or a Beast Energy, like, just there's so many good cards in here. Like, the only cards I'd be ready to give up, you know, in a Hapu, like right out from this deck, I could think of maybe one of these extras. In the worst case scenario, one of these B-Strings. I could give up 1 Mysterious Treasure, maybe 1 Custom Catcher, a Cynthia. Yeah, that's really all I'm looking to sacrifice here. I can't lose the single Psychic Energy or else our Naga becomes useless except for the Ultra Conversion. So, putting that into perspective, the Hapu, I would probably, especially even maybe just to tailor it to our online experience here, the Hapu has to go. The Hapu has to go for a Lily, and that should make you feel a little safer when you need to draw cards and you don't have to worry about. Or even a Janine, right? Even a Janine if you just want to pick the cards that you need and not have to wait. But definitely not a Hapu. I can see it working, but I can see it backfiring way more time, because you don't want to discard your Prism Star Stadium, right? You don't want to discard any of your 3 stadiums and be put in a Stadium War situation where you're getting shrined, or the opponent just has a good stadium that they're getting advantages off of. That's terrible. So, Hapu is that one card where we might suggest a strong variation would be to play Lily. And then also, coming back to the stadium cards, another big reason I struggled again in that one long game that I played is the opponent just out-stadiumed me. He had 4 Viridians. I only had 3 stadiums. I needed to play them at every turn, right? I'm a guy that likes to hold my stadiums if I don't need to play them that turn. But I had to play them every turn just to get my game going. Set up here. I realized that there were no Nagas, so I was trying to go for a different plan. But the turn I played them, he had a Viridian in his hand the next turn. It might have just been luck of the draw that he always got it on the next turn, but he basically had enough Viridians, because he played the first Viridian, and then I Ultra Spaced. He played his second Viridian, and then I Heat Factory. He played his third Viridian, I Ultra Spaced, and then he played his 4th Viridian, and I was just done. I was like, okay, we are out of Stadium, so he's just going to get to abuse that. I tried to use it a little bit, but drawing 1 Fire Energy when you don't have a lot of cards to discard and no way to get it from your discard pile onto your Nagas is really not that useful. So, yeah, for this, there's just better things you can do in terms of stadiums than a Viridian for this deck. That's why it's not in here. So, the Stadium War thing, really something to consider. You know, you guys know that I like Lusamine a lot, so throwing that in here might not be the worst idea. But even if not, you can just maybe throw another Stadium in here. Throw another Ultra Space. Or even, I can just, Ultra Space would be great. Giant Furnace, maybe. If you have no Fire Energies in your hand and you have a Welder, discard something else while they're on those 2 Fire Energies and then draw 3 more cards. That's not a bad idea either. But, yeah, 4 Stadiums is definitely a recommend. You'll lose Stadium Wars, especially in the online version, right? You'll lose Stadium Wars fast if you don't have 4 stadiums. I'm sure we've all experienced losing a Stadium War. It's not fun. It's not fun, especially if you're losing something that needs abilities and your opponent throws out like a power plant or something. Ugh, that is just not the best experience. So, one more stadium is a strong suggested variation apart from the Hapu. So we have 1 Lily. 2 Lilies would be good. I might just do that, but I want to play his deck as it is and show you the gameplay for you guys so we can test our theories here, right? We're looking at this deck, we're really giving this a strong analysis here and deep diving into this. So let's test this out, see if what we said holds true, because these are things that I've seen just from testing out the deck for consistency against the bots, and then also playing against the one long game. So yeah, Welder. Good card. And Beast Energy, yeah. So this card is super useful. Time it right. Time it right. Because if your opponent has a tag team Pokemon set up and he one-shots whatever Pokemon you've attached this to, either the Blacephalon, probably the Blacephalon, maybe the Naga in certain situations, because you get 200 damage with that, then, and you only have to discard 2 energies there. So that's pretty useful, especially if you have 2 Nagas on the bench and a Blastoff in the waiting. Ooh, works out really well. So whatever. Anyway, yeah. So if you attach this early on, you don't get to use it, and your guy gets fainted, gets shut down. That card goes to the Lost Zone, and you never see it again. So time it smart with the Beast Energy, and you can really this card is amazing looking, by the way. Really great job on this. But yeah, time it right. Play that out. 14 Fire, 1 Psychic, standard stuff. Another. Yeah, so we have 1 Dedenne in here for the Dedenne change, obviously. Again, as I was saying with the Hapu earlier, discarding cards has to be done, you know, with precision, with timing, looking at what you're doing when you're discarding what. Make sure you check your deck and you have everything in there before you discard too. That's critical. But I think I like Dedenne way more than I like Hapu, because at least I'm consciously doing it. I know all the cards in my hand. I know if I play this card, then what I'm about to get rid of and how it's going to impact me. So, yeah. So the Dedenne is there for the discard. You have the Mysterious Treasure for the discard. You also have Heat Factory. And then, yeah. So you have multiple options to to get rid of cards here, so I wouldn't be too worried about running this out. That's the only really stuck on the Hapu and the Stadium thing for this deck. I'm sure that like the TCG itself plays out differently, so we can forgive the Stadium thing. The Hapu is just something that strikes me as could turn this game really dangerous because of how dependent on it is on having these guys set up to actually output good damage. Because you can Welder on 2 fire energies and then attach 1 more fire energy to like your bench Pokemon, discard all 3 and still only do 150 damage, right? That's not enough. And then you need to discard 3 more the next turn. How many turns are you gonna be able to double Welder and then also attach 6 fire energies and be able to do like 150 consistent damage on 2 turns? It's too hard. It's too hard. It's really not gonna happen that often. So these guys are critical for this, and because of how critical they are, me like to playing a no-risk game, and I know you guys like no-risk, stress-free games, so Hapu might be one of those things that turns this into a very stressful game. So by accident, of course. You could also grab something really good with it. Maybe you get like 3 fire energies, 2 Naganadels, and then a Poipole, and then, your choice is obvious. You know what to grab, you know what to discard. But apart from that, so does that conclude our discussion here? Yeah. So the Heatran usage, again, before I wrap up with things I wanted to say about this deck. So Heatran is a really smart pick in this. It's a basic for 190 HP, which is just slightly beefier than your Blacephalon. And also, the way you can use Burning Road and then you can bring it back to just use Mind Blown with Blacephalon is superb. That means you can Hot Burn for above 250 damage, and then you can also do the same damage immediately with your setup Blacephalon with Mind Blown. So that's really, really good. You can also just Burning Road to grab as many energies as you can need, because it's any number, so you wouldn't need to completely strip your Blacephalon of all his energies either. So you can just grab them off your Nagas or something else, and then Hot Burn, and then bring your Blacephalon in, and then... So if he has 2 tag teams, pop, 2 turns, 2 tag teams, that's the game. That's how you want to play that. But yeah, bench Mew in here for those pesky bench attackers, just the one. Nothing to say against that. Really, this deck works because of the B-String Welder with the fire energies, and this deck struggles because of not having the right cards in your hand, or if it's forced to discard something unwantedly, forced to play a Dedenne, something wrong gets prized. All 3 of your Blacephalons get prized, GG, right? Rare cases, but it can happen. More frequently what will happen is the Naganadel getting prized. That's something I've seen in my frequent bot testing too. At least one of them will get prized. You can live with that, but if 2 of them get prized, you're really going to struggle if you don't pick out your prizes. This does have Eye Opener, so if you think your Nagas are in there, maybe you could Eye Open and make sure you pick them out. That's the tactic I can suggest against that, but you may always not be able to draw this card, may not be able to set him up with an energy, may not be able to play him and attack with him. So many things that, and if you have a turn that you could attack, you really don't want to be sacrificing it for trying to use a 1 energy Eye Opener attack here on this Poipole. So yeah, that being said, that concludes our deep deck dive for Ito's Blacephalon. Shout out to Shintaro Ito. This is a brilliant deck, a lot of fun to play. Hopefully we'll have the gameplay for this coming up soon. Stay tuned for more great Pokemon TCGO content, and like and subscribe. This is your favorite Dr. Professor Oak signing off.